Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and with this video, I'm discussing my thoughts on episode 7 of season 2 of One Punch Man. And we're finally down to it, man. We're finally getting a hint as to what's going on with the Monster Association. As we call over to Atomic Samurai and the Holy Order of the Sword, we basically have one of their own coming in and offering up these, like, orbs, or whatever they are, that are meant to be consumed so as to, air quotes, create monsters. Transform human beings into monsters, where they're supposed to get that much more overpowered and all that kind of stuff. And this one guy's been perverted, twisted by it because the Monster Association came directly to him and brandished this to him. And so this raises a lot of interesting questions, the most notable of which is, out of all the monsters we've seen thus far destroyed in Season 2, were these all potentially human beings? Whether they were seeking the nefarious purpose of being overpowered and being gifted with these powers from the Monster Association, or is it, that they were just creatures and monsters? I mean, the ramifications are far and wide, pretty in-depth if it turns out all of these monsters that we've been seeing laid waste to by the Class A and Class S heroes were some of their own formerly. That's pretty damned dark and pretty impactful. Even, as I say, if they were people who were gunning for these powers, because they were so consumed with it and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it just blows my ever-loving mind to think that the Monster Association, their leader, he's not even worried. He's not even like breaking a sweat over how many of their own have been destroyed thus far. And it's because, hey, we can just make more. And if they're making more by turning people into monsters, I mean, this could be very well why they've been kidnapping children. Maybe they're transforming these children into these monsters, and that means our heroes are killing the very people they're supposed to be saving. And it's just like, if that's the case, I can't wait to see how this further develops. Put it that way, now that Atomic Samurai is involved, hopefully he'll be integral into getting down to the bottom of this. They're already talking about the fact that Silver Fang might not be up to the task of taking Garo out, and which, is his mission statement of current. Garo we see angling toward, I forget the cat's name, one of the dog twins, this episode. We have two dog-themed heroes in this episode. One's an android, controlled by the kid with the computer, and the other one is in a dog suit, and he's just sitting atop the like, pedestal, in the middle of this park. And Garo is pointedly going after the one on the pedestal, and all of a sudden a monster leg just comes crashing down and interrupts Garo's, potential feat here. And so it, again, sort of goes back to my theory, my loosey-goosey theory that maybe Garo will have to team up with Saitama or have to be a helpful hand in taking out the Monster Association. Whether he's doing it for the greater good or he's doing it for his sort of selfish purposes of wanting to be the biggest, baddest ass of them all remains to be seen, and it's probably more likely that that'll be the case. But I could see an impromptu, inadvertent pairing up between Saitama and Garo along those lines, because he's getting pissed off that suddenly the Monster Association, all these monsters, are taking his clout. They're getting in the way of his trying to be the biggest, baddest ass in the world and whatever. So he may very well just go right up against them, and that'll fall in line probably with Saitama and the rest of the Hero Association thus far. It's been pretty cool, I gotta say. As somebody who said 2 episodes ago, focusing on all of these other heroes, the Class A and Class S heroes, was a little bit daunting, a little bit monotonous, because I wasn't as interested in them and intrigued by them. This episode really had a well-balanced calling back and forth to all of the aspects of it that I was really that much invested in, whether it was Saitama and Suryu in the martial arts competition, or those, Class A, Class S heroes. We saw a little bit less of them, but just enough to see what was going on in the grander scope of things. And again, as I say, it was much more well-balanced, calling back and forth between that and Saitama and whatever like that, calling over to Atomic Samurai and the Holy Order of the Sword, and figuring that out about the Monster Association. I mean, as long as it's done incrementally like this episode was, but also giving us some insight into what exactly the grander scheme, the grander scope of it all is, I'm down for it. And this episode completely gave us that and more. And then calling over to Saitama with his matchup with Soryu, it played out exactly how I assumed it would, at least as far as the disqualification goes. I had hoped they would draw it out a little bit, and they very much did. Soryu was... going after Saitama, he wasn't exactly fighting. He was more so defending because he didn't want to lose his wig. It was all sort of played for laughs that he's like holding on to that wig for dear life and just doesn't want to be outed as not being Charanko, and unfortunately he does. At first, it's not even about that. It's just the fact that he was wearing a wig, which plays into their new rules that if anyone wears a wig or a mask or anything that could potentially alter one's identity, they're disqualified. So Soryu kind of sort of wins by forfeit, but that's not satisfying enough to him, so he's still going after Saitama and everything. And Saitama he unloads with the one punch, and it's kind of funny because he's got to be reining himself in to not have all out and out just exploded every adversary he's been up against in this martial arts competition. He just sends them flying. Maybe they find themselves in Newark, New Jersey, or somewhere. They wake up and they're like, "What's going on? Where am I now?" But that whole Soryu thing, I was hoping it would be more drawn out, and it only was in the fact that Soryu didn't want to take it lying down, didn't want to take it like, because of a disqualification, because of a forfeit, I take the win. I want at you, mother trucker. So he's gunning at Saitama. And Saitama just lays him out, and then all of a sudden, you have some of the other competitors in the match being like, "Oh, that's Saitama over there. What's he doing here?" And so Saitama runs. He's like, "Oh, shit. Let's get out of Dodge," And it was absolutely hilarious. But I totally called the fact that it would end in a disqualification. They'd figure out that he wasn't Charanko and all that good stuff. And I'll tell you what, I can't wait to see what the proper Charanko's reaction to all of this will be after being assuaged by Moomin Rider that, hey, Saitama, he'll never do that. He'll never enter under false, guise and pretend to be you. When he finds out, I just can't wait to see how the other leg drops. Where Charanko is concerned. But of course, now that Saitama's out of this martial arts tournament with this disqualification, is he going to finally get involved? With the Monster Association stuff, with the Garo stuff, and whatever like that. How's that all going to come to a head? I mean, all of these things, we had Tornado in this episode once again. She just debuted in the previous, and she's taking some of the Class A heroes to task. They have to, be a little bit better, be a little bit more mindful of all the destruction they're reaping and destroying these monsters. And then, as I say, the bottom line, man, the thing that gets me the most excited and amped up is this revelation that the Monster Association has these little orbs, or whatever they are, these transformative orbs, that when consumed, people become monsters. They become overpowered monsters. Are they mindless? Are they still knowing? And with all these children that have been kidnapped and all these other people, like this one dude that was part of the Holy Order of the Sword who was corrupted by the Monster Association, are all of these monsters that they are laying waste to, are they people? Were they formerly people? Whether transformed knowingly and willingly, or against their will, that kind of thing. It would be an utmost tragedy if these children that they've been kidnapping and thinking they're going to be holding them hostage for some means, if they've actually been forcibly, transforming them into monsters for whatever their cause is, wreaking havoc on the world, ruling it, whatever it happens to be that the leader of the Monster Association wants to accomplish. And so how is this all going to come to a head? It really has me stoked. And at the edge of my seat, I am on the precipice overlooking this raw darkness of speculation and just wonderment, And so, I mean, at least for me, this was a bombastic, awesome sauce episode once again. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Love all of the estimations of what could be actually going on here, as well, falling in line with Saitama's just goofery, buffoonishness, in the martial arts tournament. And I love the fact that he basically chalks it all up to, so martial arts is just sort of doing a fancy spinning around, while you're kicking ass. And It's just, of course that's what Saitama's going to think. But I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below what you thought of episode 7 of season 2 of One Punch Man. If you've seen it as well, love it or hate it, anything goes in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video and would like to consider supporting my channel, please have a look at my PayPal support link posted both in the description as well as the comments below, which affords you opportunities very much akin to Patreon, where you can set up a recurring monthly contribution, a one-time only kind of thing. You can send me a personal message alongside any contribution you send my way, requesting topics I may discuss in the future, ask for shoutouts, or make recommendations of things I may check out and would shout you out down the line if I happen to discuss. And anything you saw fit to send my way would be 2 thumbs up for me in securing my longevity on YouTube for the foreseeable future, and just be very much appreciated. So yeah, until the next one, I'm stoked, I'm game, I want to see where this is all going to go. This is going to play out over the next band of episodes. And so yeah, otherwise it'll be pretty much it for me on this. Hope this video finds you well, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.